All right, we've got one of the greats in our sport retiring, Rafael Nadal.
You can be 5-all or 6-all in a tiebreaker with Rafa.
You get ready for it, and he still finds a way to just bully you around the court.
Please don't put me against Rafa. Tyson versus Jake Paul. If we had to kind of flip that into like tennis terms.
I think you have to go Tommy Paul because of the last names.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea, Jack. Paul McEnroe.
Jack's wheels are spinning this morning.
They are.
Sinner is the greatest ball striker of all time.
For me, that's a good point. I mean, he's up there with Agassi.
Oh, I didn't see this.
That is John on the back of like a Mustang.
I was not going to tell you guys about it.
We're back, episode 18. It's Sam Querrey, Jack Sock, Steve Johnson, John Isner. We got Charlie Fox and our team at SIF joining us. They're the ones that really make this go round. If the four of us tried to edit an episode, I don't know what we'd get. So massive thanks to them. We should actually try to edit one time and just see what comes out of it, because that could be actually kind of funny. But big weekend. I feel like all four of us were actually pretty busy this weekend, but the only person we want to hear from on the weekend is John Isner, because he looked like a Ken doll going on at the SMU football game, sat on the back of a convertible and went out to the game for the coin toss. And then you were also at the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight with Francis Tiafoe, who ignored all of our FaceTime calls on the last episode. So let's start with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. How's the fight? Were you actually there? Did you go with Francis, or did you just run into him there?
I ran into him there. I knew he was going to be there as well, but got to the stadium, spoke to a friend of mine. He's like, "Oh, I'm with Francis right now. He's just six doors over." So he brought Francis over to where I was.
You were in a suite, weren't you?
Doors over. Yeah, you must be in a suite then. You're not going to be. Yeah.
I knew you guys were going to go there.
The mayor doesn't sit in regular seats.
This is the most King of Dallas weekend I've ever heard, by the way.
I have a hard time refuting that claim that you guys made about me. So like how I just said doors over and not suites over, but you guys know what I was doing.
You almost said suites. Yeah.
I know. And but anyways, because Francis is in my suite. He didn't say door. And he brought him over, so I hung out with him, and I called him out on not answering 3 straight FaceTimes, and he played dumb. Don't believe him. But anyways, got a cool photo out of that with Francis, and the event was cool. I mean, it was like 70, 80,000 people. The energy was unbelievable. The female match before Paul versus Tyson was the best by far match of the night. Of course, everyone knows that the Paul versus Tyson did not live up to expectations. It just didn't. Mike Tyson was, you could tell after the first round. Did you guys have Netflix issues? Because like half the country did.
I was like the only one who didn't.
But you heard about that, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, I knew a lot of people that couldn't stream it, but you could. I'm just watching it there. You knew that Tyson was cooked after the first round. It was tough. I mean, the crowd was like booing a little bit, but they didn't want to. It's like hard to boo a 60-year-old dude. It's like going out. But like I went there just for the buzz of Mike Tyson coming to the ring one more time. And that was cool.
Just so people know, I want to ask you about, this is the other thing I was referring to.
Oh, I didn't see this.
That is John on the back of like a Mustang going to do the coin toss at the SMU football game. He was mad that we had a mutual friend that happened to be at the game that sent us that photo. He wasn't going to tell us about it.
I was not going to tell you guys about it. No. I went there to do SMU's like Grant Chin, who's an avid listener of the pod, by the way, invited me to be like the honorary. I didn't really know exactly what I was getting into, but like Bryson DeChambeau did it the week before. Went out onto it's a Mustang, obviously, for the SMU Mustangs. And they had a big downgrade from Bryson to me. So I did, they rolled me out there with a couple cheerleaders on a Mustang going about 2 miles an hour. Took forever to get to center field. And I did the coin flip for the Boston.
Did you do like these ones on the way out?
Absolutely. It took forever. I felt like a prom queen. It's like I did this, and then I get the crowd going, and then I realized I had like another 45 seconds to get.
Oh, it's brutal.
It was brutal. But yeah, and then I did the coin flip. But my son got to be out there.
Oh, that's cool.
At midfield with me. So that was really cool. Did the coin flip. SMU lost the coin flip, but they got the ball first, and they proceeded to miss like an 18-yard field goal of the opening drive of the game. So I thought they're having a great year. So I was really happy they won that game eventually. It was a tight game because everyone would have blamed me. But yes, that's what I did.
Big weekend.
Yeah, it was a big weekend. It was fun. It was a big Dallas weekend.
Going back to the fight, I'm gonna go to Stevie. Tyson versus Jake Paul. What if we had to kind of flip that into like tennis terms? What matchup do you want to watch in tennis terms? The Jake Paul versus Tyson. I'm assuming like McEnroe's got to be the old guy because he's the only like 60 plus guy that can kind of play. But
Yeah, I mean, you'd think it'd have to be like McEnroe or Connors as like the older gentleman who has like a lot of flair, a lot of history, a lot of, they have this like aura around them, especially when they played, right? And now, you could kind of pick any one of the younger guys. I would like to see like an American guy, Francis, Tommy.
I think you have to go Tommy Paul because of the last names just to make it.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea, Jack.
yeah, good. It's a good call.
Yeah, like a Paul McEnroe.
Jack's wheels are spinning this morning.
They are. That post first birthday party, I'm on one right now.
Yeah, but yeah, it's tough though. I mean, I was personally rooting for Tyson. I mean, as a kid's the only person here that probably watched him in his prime was John. So, I just get all the highlights and, the first couple rounds, I was like, this guy's got it. And then fell off a cliff and lost his legs a bit there midway through the, second round. But I think that's what boxing is supposed to be. It's just like a spectacle. Like I would have loved to have gone myself just to see the atmosphere. I'm not a boxing fan, but just the atmosphere around like Tyson walking back into a ring is I would assume very legendary. And I'm jealous that John got to see a piece of that.
It was good. Jack, you went big first birthday party for Broady. Golf theme party, not a tennis theme party, which was...
I don't necessarily. I mean, if he chooses a racket in his future, I'll let him whatever he wants to do sport wise. Hopefully he's athletic, or hopefully he wants to be athletic and move around a bunch and play a sport. I'd be just happy with anything. But no, my wife is the queen of themes. Loves a good theme. So the golf went along with the first birthday as the hole-in-one ParTEE.
Oh.
TEE, ParTEE. See what happens there? Like a golf tee.
Even I picked up on that right away.
So it wasn't necessarily the sport versus sport. It was more the theme. Went with the first birthday. He loved it. He ripped up the smash cake. Didn't even know that was a thing. Ripped up the smash cake. We had a bunch of friends and family over, a lot of kids around. Had a little mini bounce house on the wiffle court onto the turf. We had chipping contest and putting contest, and he opened some presents. Overall, amazing experience and something he won't remember. So it was a blast.
All right, love it. We also had a birthday party for my 3-year-old, but we don't need to talk about 2 birthday parties on this podcast. So let's talk about the ATP World Tour Finals. All right, we're going to talk year-end finals. Jannik Sinner wins it. The guy's just dominating. Taylor Fritz beats Sasha Zverev in the semifinal. I mean, Fritz has got to be Zverev's kryptonite at this point in big matches. Casper Ruud out of nowhere makes the semifinals. We had him on the show 5 or 6 weeks ago. He didn't play well at the end of the year and then finds himself in the semifinals of the year-end finals. Medvedev kind of was so-so toward the end of the year. I'm going to give John and I kudos. Maybe Stevie too. We called Fritz going to number 4 in the world. I can't. Stevie, did you say that too or no?
Yeah. That was one of those ones where you tuned me out.
You get credit too, but mostly John and I feel like get credit for that. Jumping to 4 in the world. So
we're going to check the tape on that one.
Check the tape. But those are kind of like the storylines, I feel like, for World Tour Final. I'll start with Jack. Do you think Sinner has basically just separated himself from the rest of the field at this point? I feel like he has. I feel like he's that much better. He's obviously he's number 1, but I feel like he's a clear number 1 with no one even on his heels at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's gotten to the point of entering tournaments now in general. I mean, maybe clay stuff. Maybe is the exception, but even then, I feel like it's gotten out to the point with him in the draw. It's surprising if he doesn't win the tournament. I feel like it's now where we've gotten to. I think he's become that dominant. He's shown it on every surface pretty much against every player now, and I think he's the clear favorite every time he's in a draw.
Yeah, it's kind of like Tiger back in the day. It's like center of the field at this point, especially indoor. I'll go to John. Like you've taken an absolute shellacking from center indoor.
I have.
Do you go center versus the field or no? You kind of grimaced like that was like maybe an exaggeration comment, but
I think Sinner is the favorite. He's the decided favorite at any tournament he's going to enter. Irrespective of surface. You can't discount the fact that Alcaraz has, had the upper hand in their head-to-head overall. He's 3-0 against him this year in 2024. But Sinner, yes, has had the better year. Indoor Sinner, I do think, is the best version of him. He can play on every surface, we know that. But indoors, he's on another level. As you mentioned, Sam, I played him in Davis Cup on that very court in Turin. This is when Davis Cup was 2021. They played the World Tour Finals there in Turin. Sinner was an alternate that year, was able to play a match or two. He got in via the number 9 spot. Then I played him in Davis Cup in that same arena, same court, everything, right after the World Tour Finals, and I was not prepared for the beating that I received. It was 6-2, 6-0. In the 2 games I won, I saved like 8 break points. I kind of came in there. I don't know what I really expected. My wife just gave birth, so I was like in the hospital for a few days, and then like a day later, I got on a plane and I went to play Sinner, who was really in form, and it was a bad combo. And it gave me the biggest beating of my life. 6-2, 6-0. We would have to check how many times I lost 6-0 in a match, and it can't be many. I can promise you that. So, yeah, I mean, I guess to answer your question, it's still Alcaraz and Sinner. Sinner is the favorite, but Alcaraz has, had the upper hand against him this year. So, for me, it's those two and the rest of the field. So, I think you go in any tournament, the question is Sinner, Alcaraz versus the field. I think that's a very, very good question.
yeah, I agree. Stevie, Taylor Fritz with the massive win over Sasha Zverev. I think he's beat him now the last 4 times. Do you think that's more Fritz's clutch, or Sasha just gets like a little tentative or tight in big moments?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both of those. Taylor, as we all know, and I think most of the guys on tour know, is very confident in his abilities in closing out matches and big matches. Like, he doesn't lack confidence, which is an amazing quality to have as an athlete, especially if you're out there on an island by yourself. And for Sasha, I think he's changed his mentality on court quite a bit over the last couple of years. I feel as if he's more calm, doesn't let the negative things bother him. But you can kind of see this shadow of doubt, I think, creep into his head when Taylor's playing, because he's gotten him in these big matches in the last, just if you look recently in the U.S. Open, here in the World Tour Finals, and having that slight, 1% edge over somebody head-to-head, especially in these big matches, is huge. So Taylor is also cementing himself in a great spot to finish the year top 4. So now he will only have to play, one of those guys, like a Sinner, Alcaraz, or, potentially he has a chance, or I guess, to play like Sasha in Australia going forward, because he'll be the 2 seed. So it helps him to get to another slam final and kind of build on those experiences. So it's impressive what Taylor has done at the end of this year. And I think he is so close. I mean, he's just knocking at the door to kind of, clip one of these massive, massive titles. And I think it's just, really only time will tell.
Yeah, no, Fritz beat Zverev, Wimbledon 5 sets, U.S. Open he beat him in 4 sets, he beat him at Laver Cup, and now he's beat him in the year-end finals. Like, basically the 4 biggest matches that they've played, all went Fritz's way. Fritz's clutch. I think Fritz could win a slam too at one of these, in Australia or Wimby, if Sinner, Alcaraz kind of gets knocked out early, the draw opens up a little bit, and then he's got the game to beat these guys.
Yeah, but he's also just in a great spot being 4. So he, if he was 7 or 8, you'd have to go through a couple of them potentially. So, yeah, he's in a great spot to, I think, clip definitely one of 3 majors next year. I don't see him winning the French.
I didn't think Taylor was ever going to be a top 5 player, truthfully. And I'm glad that I was wrong there, because he is so incredibly impressive. As Stevie, you spoke about, his confidence is unwavering on the court. He believes he's going to win every single match. Doesn't matter who he's playing. And he goes out there, and that's an incredible quality to have. But I want to go back to the Laver Cup in I think it was Geneva, and it was on Sunday, and our team was it was tight, right? And Rafa was team was supposed to play Kyrgios in the morning, and we get there, and Nick had some sort of injury to his wrist, so Nick was like, I'm out. I just remember Taylor showing up the course. He was not scheduled to play. Macro did not have him on the schedule on Sunday, didn't even have his rackets. Nick said, I'm out. So we needed someone to go out there and play team in the second match of the day. And Taylor was like, I'll do it. Someone had to go back to the hotel, grab his rackets. He went to bed the night before thinking, I'm not playing on Sunday. Gets there, he goes, I'll do it. Someone goes, gets his rackets, brings it back, and he beats Dominic Thiem. I can't remember the score, but I just, right then and there, I'm like, wow, this dude is different. He wanted that moment. It was a big moment, and we almost won that that match against Team Europe. But right then and there, for me, that's when I realized that Taylor was different and that he had a really good shot to do incredible things, in tennis, top 10, top 5 type of things. But before that, I was on the fence on the fence with that a little bit.
No, I'm kind of with you. Like, yeah, no, there's a good point. Jack, you played him like when he was 18, 19 at the Australian Open and the US Open, maybe.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if you won or lost, but like they went 5 sets, and Taylor was like not afraid to step up in like big moments early on.
No, I feel like honestly, if his serve was obviously anything, I mean, he's gotten older, he's gotten stronger, he's gotten bigger, but then the ball striking, I feel like, was still there pretty much. It was, when he first came on, like his second serve was actually like real slow and weak, and then his serve has now become a huge weapon. So I mean, I played him early on, and I was able to kind of take advantage of that. And even then, I was playing some of my better tennis, and we battled. I think it was definitely 5 sets in Australia because I got food poisoning the night before, and then U.S. Open, I think, was still maybe 5 sets. 5 sets on the old Louis Armstrong. Yeah, they're both battles. The guy's ball straight. He's just a gamer. That's just, at the end of the day, he steps up in the big moments. I feel like he's a guy that could be. I mean, I don't see him at home, but he could be practicing. I feel like at home and then show up to the tournament and be like, I'm going to win the tournament. And a lot of people you're not practicing well at home. You're going to go and be like, this could be an off week. This could be an early week for me, and he's ready to go. But yeah, I think it's like you guys said, very, very impressive what he's doing and the wins he's racking up, ranking he's getting to, which would lead me to John saying the field versus Alcaraz and Sinner. Do you guys think anyone outside of Alcaraz and Sinner wins a slam next year then? If you're impressed with all these people, or do you think those two take all 4?
It's so hard to take them to like win all 4. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say someone else wins one. As much as I hate saying that. I don't think they're going to win 8 slams in a row, just 2 guys.
I think Djokovic still has a trick up his sleeve. So I think it's Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic. If you give me those 3.
So Taylor's not in the. You don't think Taylor's in there anymore?
No, he absolutely can. But if I'm given the choice of those 3 in the field, I'm taking those 3. And again, I'm not going out on a big limb, going with 1, 2, and the greatest of all time. But I think that's a decent debate.
Speaking of Sinner, I remember this. Sinner's first win, for people who don't know, was against our fellow pod member in Italy, Stevie Johnson, when Sinner was, 12?
I think he was
He looked 12.
I think he was 13,
He looked 12.
Yeah, he looks like he's like 15 right now.
Wait, how old was he actually?
Yeah, I think it was 2019. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2018 or 2019, but I think I was like top 40, around 30, 40, whatever I was, playing well. I never historically did well in Rome, but there's this feeling of, I don't know if you guys ever felt this, you play like a local wild card, or not local, but, like a hometown kid, and there's different feelings you can have. Like if I would have played, the 27-year-old Italian wild card in Rome, I would have felt way more comfortable. But when you're playing like whatever he was, 17 at the time.
Had you heard of him? Had you heard of him before?
I hadn't, just because like if he's not in our world, like I didn't follow the junior rankings, like that wasn't like a big thing for me. So I walk out there and like the kid's like, 6'3", like 112 pounds, like super skinny, like, and you're just like, oof, like this could go bad for me. Like all I'm thinking about is like, you gotta win, right? Like, cause this is just a bad look on center court. So I win the first set. I think it was like 6-1 or 6-2. Like, I was nervous, but he was not so good. So this is what I just get taken down to. And then I lose the second set bad. I think it was also like 6-1 or 6-2. So it wasn't even it was horrible tennis. And then the third set kind of rolls around. I'm just like, please win. Like, you got to win this. Just find a way. End up I either served for the match or had match points. And then lost 7-5, I believe. And, after that match, let's just say the lights weren't on in the SJ noggin for a few hours, went a little dark. And then, I called, my agent, Sam Duvall, and my coach wasn't even there at the time. He was flying in the next day, but I'm like, I just lost to this kid sucks. He's terrible. I cannot believe, I'm literally quitting tennis for the rest of my life. All those thoughts go into your head. It's just bad.
You did do that, to be fair, though. Every 4 or 5 months, you had a call like that to your agent. But
this was another level, because you just lost a 17-year-old. You know what I mean? It was just bad. And then, I started talking to my agent, a couple of the other coaches, and they're like, give it time. This kid is going to be unreal. I'm like, you guys are so stupid. This guy's never going to make it anywhere. He's going to have one win and it's going to be me. This is never going to change. Little did I know, 4 years from now, he's going to be making $100 million a year, winning slams, and being by far and away the number one player. So I'm glad to know I'm a great evaluator of talent. Sometimes it's hard to look clearly through a bit of a forest, but yeah, not one of my finer moments in tennis, but ultimately I'm glad to be a footnote in somebody's very, very good career.
He's got 16 million in prize money this year. And then the 6 Kings Slam, which he won, was another 7.5. So he's at 23.5. And then, John, you might know, I don't know what the prize money is for the bonus pool for any number one.
I don't know either.
Are there 8 million, 30 million? He's gonna make. I bet he'll make more than 50. I bet he'll make more than $50 million this year.
Kind of just prize money ish, yeah.
In prize money and endorsements, he's just absolutely crushing it. So good for him. And that was all jump started with the big win over Steve Johnson.
If he doesn't get through me, if he doesn't get through me, the career takes a different trajectory. So I can take some.
Still playing challengers, probably.
Yeah, he probably is. He's playing in Champagne right now. He could be in the Champagne Challenger and not in Turin if he doesn't take you out there, Stevie.
He's absolutely loving it. He's loving that this is in Turin. I mean, how great is that for him? It's in Turin when he's number one in the world, winning these things.
Yeah, but just back to the indoor center when there's no conditions. We talked about how he has this ability to hit the center of the racket every single time. When you throw in no sun, no wind, no nothing, his movement is just ridiculous. He just cracks the ball, takes a full cut at every single ball, and he does that no matter the surface, but with no conditions, it makes him extremely dangerous. I think it's his best surface. Indoor tennis, it doesn't matter what surface he plays on, but this particular court playing at home, wow, he's a tough out.
I hate the term great ball striker because every pro's a good ball striker, but I think Sinner is maybe the greatest ball striker of all time that I've ever seen. John just kind of said it. His movement, he hits every ball not as hard as he can, but essentially just with 95% power, the center of the strings 100% of the time.
For me, that's a good point. I mean, he's up there with Agassi. Agassi, to me.
Yeah, Andre is good too.
You could, no, obviously, but we're talking about 10 years down the road, when you look at Sinner's career, he's got 17 slams. You're going to put him, you could
I'm gonna
say
he's better ball striker. Better ball striker than Andre.
I don't know, whatever, yeah. But it's up there, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, all right, congrats to him.
Hot take on greatest ball striker of all time.
Real hot take.
Well, I think it's a very different. It's It's generational. Andre and these guys, they're not ski sliding into balls in the corners and still hitting them full power, as the Euros would say. And it's the same as the GOAT talk in sports and everything. I think those comparing are so generational. On I think do I think it takes more skill to be in a full split sliding out to a ball outside the tram lines, as the Europeans would say, and you're hitting a forehand 130 miles an hour? Yeah, I think that's better ball striking. But you watch an Agassi or a Nalbandian in their prime, and they're the cleanest. I mean, it just looks clean. It looks good. But I think there's different it's almost different skills of ball striking. I think as the game is evolving and as everything's evolving and progressing, I just think, yeah, it's an interesting topic and question, because I think there's different levels of ball striking, I guess, or aspects to it.
Like Sinner's overall movement, it's absurd. Like Agassi was a good mover. He wasn't a great mover, but his superpower was being able to stand right in the middle of the court and not move his feet and just redirect the ball any which way he wanted to go because his hands were just completely absurd. So, yeah, it's different, right? Because Sinner adds it with the movement where Agassi would just plant in the middle of the court and run people around.
Yeah, Agassi is standing inside the base on someone's first serve and able to catch it that clean and ball strike a return to a corner and now be like, which is insane. These guys are 30 feet behind the baseline, but swinging 150 miles an hour and hitting the ball Mach 10. It's crazy.
Jack convinced me to change my vote. I'm going Andre better ball striker. I've been persuaded. That was a good argument.
I think it's different. It's those guys weren't hitting the full open stance split backhands from the corners, but they're also not standing inside the baseline redirecting a serve off of. Yeah,
I think you should stick with it, Sam, because when Sinner's career is over, he's definitely going to be in the conversation as like best ball strikers of all time. And it's like, for me, at the top of my head, it's he's up there with Andre.
All right, guys. As much as I'd like to keep talking some Sinner ball striking, I got to roll. I'm going to leave you guys to chat Rafa Nadal and his career.
All right, we've got one of the greats in our sport retiring, Rafael Nadal. I think pretty much everyone's got him up there with Djokovic and Federer as one of the best three of all time. So his amazing career has come to an end. John, do you remember the first time you kind of like watched Rafa play?
Yeah, it was right when I came on tour, so it must have been like 2007. I remember specifically watching him at the U.S. Open in 2007, just on TV. At that point, he'd already cemented himself as one of the best players in the game. But you can't. In 2007, no one could fathom anyone getting to 20 Grand Slams, let alone 3 players. So you knew the guy was special, and he did it with his serve, like not like a huge weapon, right? So he just like his serve was good. Most of the time he hit 80% of his serves to the down the tee on the deuce and wide on the ad, and it was kind of a little bit in a sense predictable, but it didn't matter because once you got the return back, no matter who he played, he was such a bully from that first ball onward that he was just ridiculous. The physicality that he brought to the game and his tenacity on the court is like we'll never see it again. We spoke about this in previous pod. Excuse me. In my mind, I would put him as the greatest competitor in the history of sports. That's how highly I think of him, and I think you guys might possibly agree with me there as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think I also said once, like, of the big three, like, he's the most intimidating to play. I think Stevie agreed with me. Stevie was the first time you played him Madrid.
Yeah, that's the only time I played him was in Madrid that year, and it's like, I mean, you know exactly what you're walking into, and you still have no idea what you're walking into. In a certain sense, you know what I mean? Like, you know what he's going to do, his idiosyncrasies, his rituals, all this stuff, and you get ready for it, and he still finds a way to just bully you around the court. And I hit with him a few times early in my career, and then got a chance to play him once. So, yeah, definitely he was. I will agree with John. I don't want to gaslight the people here and say he's the greatest competitor because that'll just make people angry. But he's definitely top 5 across all sports every single day when he's, strapped on his shoes and did all that stuff before he walked out there. Like, you knew exactly what you were going to get 100% of the time.
My first time, I played him in Cincinnati, 2006. At that time, he was really good, but there was still like a little belief that you could kind of beat him on a hard court or a grass court. And so, like, I was only 18, but I lost him in 3 sets because he wasn't like as dominant on the hard courts yet. I feel like had I played him first in like 2012, I almost would have been more intimidated. He would have probably had 13 or 14 slams already and probably won the U.S. Open and Australian Open already at the time. But yeah, he just got like more intimidating and more dominant, obviously, like with with time, but the dude was just a machine. Do you guys think that Rafa's idiosyncrasies were something that just like came natural to him, or he just like kind of like intentionally did some of these things?
That's actually a good point. I wonder, like, I mean, now I can't actually like go back, but I want to go, if you could think like 2000, I don't know, like 6, 7, was he doing all the same stuff that he did now? Like, I don't know. Like, I can't remember that far back because all I remember is him, hoisting trophies left and right. But now it seems a little crazy what he does every point, but whatever he does, it works. You're going to let him it just is what it is. Like, you can't get frustrated by it if you're out there playing him.
Yeah, I think he's been doing it. I can't remember him ever not doing it. I mean, the most famous ritual he has on the court is the water bottles. He's been doing that his whole career. The clam digger, Rafael Nadal, was doing that with his water bottles. He's clearly a perfectionist. It's like all you see, like great athletes, right? I think one that comes to mind, I mean, a baseball player, remember Nomar Garcia-Parra always do this with his, I mean, that's Rafa for you, right? It just gets him in the right frame of mind to go out there and compete. And with his water bottles, I mean, it's just, we'll never see something like that again. Like, it's crazy. Like, Stevie, like you and I, Sam, we're all pretty neat and kind of, we like things a certain way, but Rafa takes it to another level. It's crazy.
Did you guys ever, of the big three, like Roger, like sometimes off court we'd chat, like a few practice with him, like off site, have some lunch. Novak had like somewhat of a relationship with him off the court with like texting or hanging out. Rafa, I never had one, never more than like a hi and passing or anything like that. Always couldn't have been nicer. Like, hola Sam, how are you? Like, every single time. You guys ever have like an extensive like chat with him outside of like the tennis court?
Never.
No, just, I mean, in the locker room, but
He kind of hung with his like Spanish crew or the people that spoke Spanish, but
He would play chess. Remember every French Open, it would rain? And he would play chess with Uncle Tony in the locker room.
no, it wasn't chess. It was some other
no,
game.
it was like that Spanish board game.
Oh,
Like, they
yeah.
all sat there and played it.
He would play chess also, but it was that other little game. You're exactly right. It was, and they would just grind with the dice and play. But it's a good point. Like, nicest guy in the world, but like I think us four actually, we all had a probably a really good relationship with Roger because he just was a little bit more approachable, I guess.
I think the language barrier made it easier to approach Roger and Novak.
I mean, yeah. And the difference, like, Rafa's legendary with how he would prepare for a match. Everyone hears the stories in the locker room. Like, it's headphones on. He's gripping his rackets a certain way. He's getting his wristbands on, and it's like he's dialed in. Whereas Roger, I've been at Wimbledon in the locker room with him as you guys have, and he's 5 minutes before going on center court, and he's just chilling. He's like, "What's up, Johnny?" And he walks down to center court, 5 minutes later, he kills someone. So it's like, and so it's what makes like those two, especially like their rivalry so unique. They went about it so differently. Rafa on the practice court on an off day at a Grand Slam was just ripping balls for an hour and a half. Fed's just kind of smoothing it around. So it's a bit like like fire and ice between those two.
Stevie, you remember looking in Rafa's eyes when you're at the net and him jumping up and down in Madrid?
Yeah, I do. And I'm telling you, like, we referenced this, I think it was maybe episode 13 or whatever. There was a severe fear I had for losing 0-0 in front of just like a big crowd and just kind of getting just embarrassed. That was my whole goal that day, was to not get embarrassed. And I know John here had the under, I'm sure, in the game is one for me. But luckily I won the first game, so that kind of calmed the nerves a bit. Because if you start going down like 4-0, 5-0, lose the first set 6-0, that's when like panic starts to set in. There was a lot of fear in my eyes and not a lot of fear in his eyes, because I don't think he was overly concerned with my slice that day and how he was going to just bully me around with his forehand. There was no defense for me on that side.
He looked to his Spanish buddies and goes, I played Johnson first round.
Actually, I don't even think he knew who I was, so it didn't matter.
Can I add something there, Stevie? I don't know if you remember, as we all know, Stevie, for probably more times than not, rocks just a flat-out mustache. And his fear of losing 0-0 was real because he had the mustache going after he won his first match in Madrid. And he was thinking, like, I played Rafa on center court. I can't lose to him 0-0 while
That's correct.
Mustache.
Yeah.
Well,
So
you shaved it because you didn't want to lose.
Yeah. It was like I like trimmed it, so I only had like an actual like a regular like a uniform beard. But I was concerned. I was very concerned that I was like, it was my first big match against these guys. I was like, I cannot be the guy who loses 0-0 with like a cheesy mustache, like
That's so funny.
out here. And yeah, John is 100% correct there. And
Because I wanted him to wear it, and I wanted him to lose 0-0.
yeah, of course he did. I mean, if we look back, I would have actually rather that been the case because it would be hilarious. Because me losing like 3-3 or whatever it was, or that was fun, but like 0-0 would have been hilarious a decade ago. I should have done it.
I remember having that fear early in my career, like especially on clay. If I played like Rafa or Novak or Ferrer, like losing 0-0. Maybe for only a couple years, but like I was just begging when draws came out, like please don't put me against Rafa like first round of the French Open because like I could lose 0-0. Where I didn't feel like that with Roger. I played Roger like my second year of the French Open and lost like 4-4-4, but you were never worried about Roger blowing you off the court.
Never.
Rafa, you were afraid of it early. Because he did it sometimes.
I mean, you were also afraid of it late.
I was like confident enough that I could hold my serve a few times.
Yeah, it's a little different with Sam and I, like against Rafa, like on any surface, because he's standing so far back to return. Like Sam and I can get free points, serve and volley. He was a little, can't believe I'm using this word for Rafa Nadal, susceptible to the serve and volley a little bit because he stands so far back, and it might keep you close in a set. But it's just like all the all-time greats. It's you can be 5-all or 6-all in a tiebreaker with Rafa in any given match, and it's just hard to slam the door on the all-time greats, and that's
why they're the all-time greats.
Which I remember Tony Gotzik told me this once. That's Federer's agent. That I'm getting at. When did Rafa become a superstar? Because Tony once told me that Roger didn't become a superstar until he had 10 slams. Like I don't like Sinner and Alcaraz are amazing, but I kind of agree with them. They're not superstars yet. I feel like you have to get like double digits. Do you guys kind of agree with that? Did Rafa become like a bona fide superstar how many did he have to have before he became like a superstar?
I think there was one moment. It was, I hope I'm right on this year. I'm pretty bad on my years. It's a 2009 Wimbledon final.
When he beat Roger?
When he beat Roger in 5. And there was like, the sun was setting and there's iconic photos of him with this team up there. I think that was the moment he was able to unseat Roger for that 1 year at Wimbledon.
I think I agree with John. I think that is, I guess, the turning point to his, superstardom is when you win something or do something out of your comfort zone. Like we all knew at that point he was dominating the French, and every clay tournament and whatnot. But I don't think he had a good track record on the grass leading up to that. And then he ultimately beats, I think, the greatest of all time grass court player, obviously in Federer, in a final in an epic fashion, coming from behind, you name it. Like, I think that was the moment. I think John hit the nail on the head there where it's like, this guy is, has just entered a new stratosphere of like, he's, an unbelievably talented clay court player. And now he's just arguably one of the best and ultimately will be one of the best of all time.
No, what's crazy? Like, obviously, he's the greatest clay court player of all time. That's not even debatable. 14 French Open titles. I think he's a top 10 grass court player of all time. Maybe even like a top 6 grass court player of all time. Multiple Wimbledon titles. Other Wimbledon finals. I'm just going off the top of my head. I should have these stats, but like I think he's won Queens before. His grass court resume is honestly really, really impressive.
It was 2000. Of course, I got it wrong by 1 year. It was 2008 when he beat Roger in that legendary. They've made a documentary about that match. I think the legendary final in 5 sets. It was 2008. And you brought up what Tony Gotzik said about Roger with his 10th slam. This was Rafa's 5th slam when he was able to unseat Roger in 2008. So not 2009, but I think that was the moment he became a bona fide superstar.
What do you guys think is the most underrated part of his game? And don't say volleys, because that always bugged me when people are like, Rafa has great volleys. Not that he had bad volleys, but he only came in on like perfect shots where it was high volleys. And yes, he put them away, but that always kind of bugged me when people are like, he's a great volleyer. He's a good volleyer. I didn't see him pick up like shoestring volleys all the time. I take Stevie J's volleys over Rafa's volleys.
I would not take that, but thank you.
Whose volleys? Oh, Stevie J. No, I would. I mean, for me, he did. I was gonna say volleys. I guess I'm not allowed to.
Yeah,
he was so good at doubles.
Masses. That's just because everyone said that.
Okay, I mean, I think he had a good slice backhand as well. He developed that, midway through his career. It wasn't just, he was able, especially on services other than clay, he was able to get back to the points defensively and play a good slice. So That was something, to me, it seemed like he utilized a bit more as his career started progressing.
I would say it's his improvisational skills out there. Like when he's on the run, like the continental forehand flick, or getting himself like out of an awkward wrong-footed on a clay. You've seen him fall before, get back up and just still win these points. Like it's not like one, I guess, stroke or attribute, but you always felt like his hand skills were a bit underrated when he needed to kind of create something that wasn't there in an awkward position.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. And I feel like when it comes to sportsmanship, the ATP always hands out those sportsmanship awards. I feel like he won it like a dozen times. He's truly the only player I've ever seen to never throw a racket or never yell or never kind of lash out or anything like that. It's pretty amazing that he obviously would get frustrated, because we all do, and he would never actively act on that frustration.
No, not even in the locker room after a loss. Like some people hold it inside, then go and start bashing rackets in the locker room, which is fine. No, never at all. He was so respectful when he loses. It's it was either him or Roger that would win the sportsmanship award, and people would be like, "Oh, well, you number one and number two in the world." They always, they were the best. They should win it every single year. So
it's probably also a little easier to be in a good mood when you're one in the world.
It's a good point, but look,
But think about all the stress and pressure they face every single day. I mean, I don't know how they feel, because we've never been in that situation, but imagine, you have to go, these guys go every single day to the courts with every eyeball on them. Everybody wants to take a picture with them, every autograph, everybody expects them to win every single day. They don't, I feel like, ever get a time for themselves. And the way those guys, Rafa and, here went about his business, treated everyone with respect in the locker room, the guys, the staff, you name it. Just like John said, he treated everyone like he was family. So he should have won that award. They should have just given those two guys the award every year, quite frankly. Just both of them.
Sam and I were in Rome. I'm so bad with years. What year do you think this was?
I would say 2010, maybe 9.
I was going to say 11. Doesn't matter. But Sam and I were playing Roger Federer and Yves Allegro, his buddy, and first or second round of Rome doubles on the statue court. Arguably the most beautiful court we have in tennis. It's top 3 for sure, I think. And we go out there and we're in the tunnel. Stevie, as you know, about to walk on the court, and we're playing Roger in doubles. This is really cool. Of course, you look underneath and the place is packed. It's standing room only. They were there to watch Query and I play. And we're about to walk out, and one of the supervisors goes, Hold on. Roger, you are accepting an award on the court, but before you guys go out there and warm up. Roger's like, what award? I don't know. It's the Elegance Award.
Yep.
So Roger looks at us and he goes, okay. He didn't even know. And he went out there, and sure enough, he got an Elegance Award that he probably was told about. He probably forgot about it. And how funny was that, Sam?
It was good. Remember that? Then that turned into us asking where he keeps his trophies at home.
Yes, right before we walked on the court.
And we're and then we kind of asked him, where do you keep the big, he at this point, he had a bunch of slams and masters. We're where do you put a Halley trophy at this point? He's like, it's probably at my parents' house or something. It's just it was just,
that's right.
These 500s and masters trophies, you just I honestly have no idea. They're just somewhere else. They're so meaningless to me at this point. You're right. The Elegance Award.
Yeah, the Elegance Award. I wonder if he still has the 2011 Rome Elegance Award.
If you're going to give that to someone, you give it to Roger.
Of course.
Okay, like Fed and Djokovic, Rafa's career, the records, there's pages and pages of records. But I'm going to ask both of you this. Which record is most underrated? I'm going to give you 4 options. Nadal winning a slam for 10 consecutive years. Nadal going 14-0 at Roland Garros in finals. Nadal winning Roland Garros 4 times without dropping one set. Or is it Nadal going 31-0 to just start his career at Roland Garros? All 4 are proper answers, but which one is the most underrated? I'll go with Stevie J first.
Yeah, underrated might be a strong term here, but I think it's winning 4 French Opens without dropping a single set. That is absolutely mind-blowing to me. I can't remember off the top of my head if he had any, withdrawals or, retirements, but winning 21 sets in a row at a slam against the best players in the world is ridiculous. And he did that 4 times. Like, he never had a bad game, got broken, and lost a set, and then, won 2-2 and 2 or whatever it was. I mean, he won 21 straight sets 4 times and never lost a set is absolutely mind-blowing to me.
John, you agree with that, or you got a different one in mind?
I think I would agree there. I mean, like, his stats are so mind-numbingly stupid that you often forget about some of these stats, and that's one I've forgotten about. I've heard it before, but I've forgotten about. Obviously, you hear about the 14 French Open titles, but I didn't realize 4 times he did that without dropping a set. That's pretty absurd.
No, I'm in agreement. 3 for 3. I think that's the most impressive one. He got his first tour win 2002, so he's literally been playing 22 years. He was 15 years 10 months old against Ramon Delgado. I don't know what you guys were doing at 15 years old. I was a sophomore in high school, not winning ATP Tour matches, but that's pretty impressive too.
That's insane.
How about this one? He won 11 titles as a teenager in a single year.
That must be, part of those must be challenger titles.
That's actually incredible. 11 ATP titles in 1 year as a teenager.
He wasn't playing challengers at 19.
No, because he won the French Open.
Yeah, you're right. What am I talking about?
he is already, it wasn't challengers. And by the way, it was 2005, guys, that Rafa won 11 ATP titles in 2005.
What were you boys doing in 2005? Not winning titles or?
Not winning junior tennis tournaments.
He won Madrid. We have it. Madrid, Beijing, Canada. So it's not all clay. Stuttgart.
Clay at the time.
That's what I thought. Bastad, French Open. Roma, Barcelona.
Roma, what are you, Italian?
Monte Carlo.
That was so obnoxious.
Clay Court, Acapulco, and one of our favorite ATP Tour tournaments of all time, Sam, Costa do Suape. Remember that one in Brazil?
Yeah, played it many times.
Yeah.
Roma. That's like the guy when the American goes over and oh, what do you have for breakfast? A croissant? They're like, it's a croissant. Come on. This might be my favorite Rafa one, actually. Years spent in the top 10 consecutive. 17.4 years in the top 10. 912 weeks. 2005 to 2023. He never dropped out of the top 10. And as we know, almost every other year, I feel like he would skip a slam, not play Wimbledon, maybe a little injured, so he'd miss a month or two here and there. But that is nuts.
Yeah, when you win the French Open every single year, you're just automatically top 10.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. Is 2,000 points put you at what in the rankings?
No, not quite top 10, but
put you at 20.
Yeah.
I mean, 912 straight weeks into the top 10. I want to say, when John, you retired, there was some crazy stat. You were 800 weeks or something, in the top 100 or top 50 or something like that for 12 to 15 years. I think it was top 100. I was like, that's also an insane stat. But this is unbelievable career you had. And then another, another stratosphere to be top 10. And he missed multiple slams some years. That's the crazy part.
Yeah. I would love to go back and see over that 22 years, how many slams did he miss? I feel at least 10.
Pretty much, I think every year you could count him for at least 2 of the 3 Master Series on clay and Barcelona. So there's and the French. That's whatever, 5,000 points right there. I wouldn't play the rest of the year too if I had 5,000 points in a 3-month span.
He's also got most wins ever over a current world number 1, which is a little he was number 1 for a lot of the years. But when he wasn't, he had 23 times he beat the world number 1. And I'm assuming that that was basically Federer, Novak every time. Rafa missed 19 majors. Let's say Rafa was perfectly healthy his entire career. Probably could add another 3-4 on there. For reference, Djokovic only missed 3 and Federer's only missed 8.
The only odd stat, I think, I could be completely off on this. I think he only finished year end twice, number 1, out of his whole career, which is crazy. You know what I mean? I think because he missed so much time, with injury, but I think it was only twice. I got to double check, but I guess Roger and Novak kind of just took the cake on those for the bulk of that career, but
you're right, because you would think that he would have finished number 1 7 times, Rafa or Roger 7, Novak 9 kind of thing. But he also never won ATP finals. And then finally here, Davis Cup. He has won 32 straight matches at Davis Cup. John, you ever play him in the Davis Cup, Ty?
You did. I didn't.
I did. My first ever
Yeah.
Davis Cup, I played him in Madrid, 2008, in like a bull ring. It was unbelievable. There was like 50,000 people.
2008 query was the best query. You were so good with the Prince racket, man. You were so
Prince
good.
racket, 19, like didn't even know how the rankings or anything worked. I feel like early on, do you guys know that? Like you weren't concerned with like points and stuff. You just went out there and like no one knew who you were. You didn't really know other people's games. I went out there. I won the first set off Rafa in that Davis Cup and then went on to lose. But he was probably, I mean, he's got 32 active Davis Cup wins. I don't know what number that was for him. Probably, I don't know, like 6 or 7. But that's pretty impressive too. To not only 32 in a row and kind of have like you're playing for your team and your country. There's like even more pressure on those.
I stand corrected on he finished year end number 1 5 times.
Yeah, didn't sound right.
Yeah, I thought I read that, but it's incorrect. Very false.
Good to clarify.
Own your mistakes, you know?
I should have brought this up earlier. You spoke about how like we didn't really have like a great relationship off the court with Rafa, but he was always the nicest guy in the world. Well, one year during the clay court swing after Roma, I was with my family. I went to Mallorca for the week before the French Open, and Rafa completely hooked me up with everything. He didn't have to do that. He met me at his academy. He gave me keys to a rental car that I didn't pay for. Yeah, and he gave me restaurant recommendation, and I saw him in the gym, and I was in the gym with him. He was showing me this room and that room. Here's the spa. He was just could not have been nicer. So, I mean, these 3 guys that we have had in our sport for the longest time have been the greatest representatives of any sport I think anyone could ever dream of. So
Stevie and I have never been to his academy. You have? I heard it's incredible. Everyone that goes said it's like phenomenal. Like he couldn't be more accommodating to pros when they come in, and it's just like a stunning place.
he's like everywhere too. Like, there's like,
is he checking in guests that like if they come in for like Rafa fantasy camps?
Not quite there, But obviously there's juniors everywhere, and there's adults doing camps, and there's like, they want to come to Mallorca, and go to the Rafael Nadal Academy. But like, he's in the gym. I saw him in the gym 5 different times. There's all these juniors walking around. He doesn't have like a private gym just for himself. He's in the restaurant eating with everyone else.
Yeah. He's a man of the people. We've hinted on and touched on that before. Like he'll win the French Open back in the day, and he hops on the Eurostar and coach and like goes to London to play Queens with like the Roland Garros trophy. He's pretty mellow, but yeah, he'll be missed. But all 3 of those guys are great. But Rafa, it's his kind of time to call it quits. But nice career, congrats.
Yeah, nice. I think it was nice.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. That was episode 18 for us. Before we get to Sam on his random player of the week, we have a few things to plug. We appreciate all of you guys who have been supporting this podcast by leaving us ratings and reviews. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Nothing Major on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on socials. Our handle is @NothingMajorPod on Instagram, TikTok, X, and YouTube. And remember, everyone, we are live on YouTube on Mondays. So let's enjoy the video portion of this beautiful show. And with that, Samuel, who is our player of the week?
Okay, you mean random player of the week. Player of the week, I would just say myself. But random player of the week. So this player is an American. So he's maybe not as random to like the 4 of us because we would know him a little better. But I feel like to others in tennis, he's a little more random. He's 50 years old, 1 career title. He actually had like a handful of big wins. At one point, I believe he lost 20 matches in a row.
Oh, can I guess?
You can guess.
Is he also a part-time singer?
Yes, part-time rapper.
Part-time rapper, sorry, apologies. Because he
know
ain't
it.
afraid of ya.
It's Vince Spadia. Ain't afraid of ya.
There
Stevie's
we go,
all over
baby.
that
That's
one.
a great random player right there.
Random player of the week, Vince Spadia.